down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
Hello, fellow investor out there. Today, I'm going to discuss what is a motivated seller. A motivated seller is a property owner who's willing to sell their property for a low price. Usually 30, 40, even 50% value, and most of the time even less. A motivated seller may give terms like owner financed, require no money down, and if you do it right, you can get zero interest. So if you make an offer, a dual offer, you can say $400 a month for 5 years, and they're just looking for the monthly income, and they're not necessarily looking for the interest, depending on who you're talking to. And so today's episode is, have you ever wondered how to find these motivated sellers? So buckle your seat. Let's get down and dirty. There's a multitude of ways to find motivated sellers. And one of those is the county records, obviously. One is delinquent. It is early in the morning. So delinquent tax list. There's also tax sales. And you'd be surprised who's hanging around those sales. Not only other investors, but folks that don't want to lose their home, but may take, a couple $1,000s to sign it over to you. So that's one, county courthouse. Another way is search county assessor website for names, and you will be surprised. So for fun, type in JP Morgan Bank, Bank of America, type in that as the name, and you could do as short as possible as a search string, and you'd be amazed what pops up. And then I just did that right before the episode to make sure that I know what I'm talking about. And I got a foreclosure on there that I'm going to go pursue. And on the document where they took the property back over, it even lists the attorney that handled the foreclosure. How cool is that? So another way to find motivated sellers is direct mail. A lot of people do direct mail. A lot of wholesalers do direct mail. I do direct mail. It works. If it didn't work, we wouldn't be here, but it does work. You just have to, the success of it is that you have to stay consistent with it. You can't just mail out one letter to one house and expect to get a return. So keep that in mind. But here's some quick tips to send letters to who. Who do you send these letters to? Well, obviously there's a thing called driving for dollars. You see a house that looks vacant. That's a great place to start. When you can do search inquiries on the county assessor in your market, look for folks that live out of the county, out of the country, out of the state, also known as absentee owners. They're great to go after. Another one is who's owned the property for more than 10 years. Just like cars, people tend to move 3 to 5 years. Now, cars, some people just swap out cars a lot earlier. But I mean, how many homes have you lived in your lifetime that the 30-year living there forever is over with? And if you see someone that's been a property owner for over 10 years or longer, they may be motivated. They may be burnt out. They may be in their 80s. They may want to retire. So that's a little tip right there for you to tune in only within 4 minutes, and you already got a nugget. And I mentioned it earlier, tax sales. You can do search inquiries, direct mail to folks that are behind. For example, coming up at this month is a big tax sale, and people are really motivated right now. It's the month of June 2016, and I just see deals popping up everywhere and anywhere. People are trying to unload their property before the tax sale. So you might want to look at the tax sale, find it, usually post a couple of months before, and then start doing your due diligence, and then start calling those people directly before you even get to the sale. And you should do that anyway before you make an offer on a property anyway, or make a bid. Another fine little area is Facebook. It's amazing what you can do in letting people know what you do on Facebook. There is motivated people that want to sell. A friend of mine is running Facebook ads that, are you delinquent? Are you having a problem? And he's getting a great response from that. So you may want to try that. All these ideas are all great and fine and dandy. But when I coach people and they're like, I can't get a return, it's not working, because they keep jumping around. You got to focus on one thing for now until it yields results. After it yields results, then you move on to another thing. Here's some other random ones. Friend of a friend of a friend, a family member. And this just happened to me, a guy that is kind of a real estate investor, kind of, I call him a country club investor. He has a full-time serious job, white collar job, and he kind of invests with some friends on the side. And so there is a really dilapidated property that his cousin owns, and she's about to lose it. She's 4 years behind or 3 years behind on taxes, and there is a bunch of liens on that property due to not taking care of the property, mowing the grass, trees falling over. And so he called me and suggested, hey, I know you kind of buy this kind of stuff. I'm not interested. And that started up a conversation, and I pursued that deal. And I'm in the middle of that, chasing this person down, and let that individual know is that June 15th, it goes to sheriff's sale. So in 7 days, this person, or 6 days when you hear this, they need to make a decision. And that's usually creates pressure and usually creates a cheaper price for you. Here's another random one. Keep relationships rolling with other investors. Other investors like myself are in different cycles in their career or managing their portfolio. And right now I am actually dumping some property that I'm kind of depreciated out, kind of done messing around with it. I don't want to kind of spruce it back up, meaning that the tenant just moved out, kind of left it kind of in disarray. And there's so many deals out there, and these are inexpensive. So I'm letting go of properties at what I have in them. So if you're a rookie, investor and looking just for one property, man, you'd be surprised what you can pick up from another investor that's just in a different cycle of their career. And another thing to consider when dealing with other investors, now usually when you deal with another investor, they're smart. Usually they're smart. Now there's some kind of rookie investors out there that don't listen to the podcast, so there you go. But another way is hanging out with investors. There's an investor friend that I got a smoking deal from that was in a pinch where he over leveraged his line of credit, meaning he was robbing Peter to pay Paul, got caught up in a vicious cycle. It is common. It happens. I have been in that cycle. I'm just now getting out of that cycle where I was broker than broke. And yeah, it looks all gravy on paper, but in reality, not enough rent is coming in to cover the debt service plus all the major repairs that you got to going on. Well, this guy maxed out his line of credit and he needed to liquidate ASAP. And so I bought this cute little house down in Moore, which is a very popular school area, and gobbled that deal up. And I've been renting it out for like 5 years and I have not seen the tenant. And that was from that investor who got caught up in a line of credit drama and needed to liquidate. And we had this episode just a couple of days ago, realtors. You'd be surprised. Now, here's the thing. They're not a consistent flow of deals that they don't profit from. But realtors do come across people of leads that they try to get listing, and there's not enough room on the listing. For example, it's a $100,000 house, and they owe $95,000 on it, and there's not 6% for the realtor to take the listing and then try to sell it and work it. So obviously they're motivated, obviously they're desperate, and they need to drop that deal. So I've had, which is kind of cool, it hasn't panned out, but I've had realtors call me and said, hey, I know that you're an investor, I can't help this seller, she's just it's not enough room for me to take the listing, maybe you can help her in some form or fashion. And usually those deals don't work out because they can't bring cash to closing, but you'd be surprised. I've purchased property where I've had sellers come to closing with a couple $1,000, $6,000. But if you are a creative investor, financially creative, you can acquire that property through subject to, basically taking over the payments. So that's it. That's today's episode. Real down and dirty, under 10 minutes. So what is a motivated seller? Now you know who they are. Now the trick of the game is to go out there and find it. While you're out there, you can't find it, build a relationship with someone that may find it and partner up. But your ultimate goal here is to what? Buy assets. My name is Stephen Van Kallenberg. You listen to the Savvy Radio Show. I appreciate your support. And if you want to listen to other radio episodes, go to SavvyRadioshow.com. Have a great, super duper summer.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at SavvyRadioshow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook and always be buying assets.